This is the second podcast where I did start talking about the Riyadh Comedy Festival. You know, I can see the thing now. Whitney Cummings addresses the festival. You know what? I don't think I need to address it. You guys have it all figured out. I think you guys got it.
Yeah.
You guys, I guess I'm this weirdo. I don't operate under, you know, the idea that every government and their people are the same. But I guess that's like, you think that the people of Saudi Arabia and the Saudi government all share. Okay, so you also believe that the Chinese government and the Chinese people are exactly the same. It's just racism. I think it took me a second, because when people are going like, oh, you're doing something unethical, I'm like, oh, these must be ethical people. Let me listen. And then you're like, oh no, you're just racist.
Alright, so it seems that Whitney Cummings has finally addressed the Riyadh Comedy Festival backlash, and she appears to be extremely rattled by it, because instead of just admitting that she did it for the large quantity of Saudi blood money, she instead just went into hardcore cope and deflection mode, saying that her fans are racist for not distinguishing the difference between the Saudi government and the Saudi people, which is one of the most backwards, boneheaded takes she could have possibly made.
I'm trying to help you sound less racist.
Like, I thought this went without saying, but nobody was mad that there were citizens in the crowd there. It was all about the comedians accepting money directly from the government. And I'm pretty sure she knows this too, but similar to Bill Burr, she has flavored a lot of her comedy recently with socially just and morally correct talking points. Like, she has an entire professionally produced comedy special revolving around the Me Too movement and women's rights. So of course she's getting even more heat for this than some of the other comics on the list. And that seems to have hit her right in the core, because not only did it destroy her entire reputation, but it also gave her enemies a lot of ammunition at the same time. Chris D'Elia, for example, has been really enjoying the downfall of Whitney Cummings, because back when Chris got canceled, Whitney Cummings spoke out against D'Elia for all the awful things that he allegedly did, which of course was the absolute right thing for her to do, but Chris, being who he is, felt personally slighted by it. So now that she's performed in Riyadh and is getting dumped on for it, it's opened up an opportunity for Chris to feel like he can take the moral high ground against her, which is absolutely insane, being that Chris D'Elia is Hollywood's biggest creep.
You still got 35 millionaire comedians going over to Riyadh and playing in Saudi Arabia, even though half of them were very serious about the Me Too movement. Hey, which comic's gonna get beheaded this week? And these you got these comedians that are like, I don't know, just huge on the Me Too movement, and then they go, what's the bag? Bro, they won't let women show their mouths.
And so of course Whitney responded to D'Elia in this recent podcast of hers, because it's a really bad look when a ghoulish figure like Chris D'Elia starts acting morally superior to you, especially considering the fact that more than 100 women accused him of predatory behavior back in 2020. Like, he really doesn't have any room to call someone out for going against their morals, which would have been an amazing point to bring up in her response to him, but unfortunately Whitney didn't address the allegations at all. Instead, she just brought up the fact that Chris has a huge trust fund set up for him since his dad's a really successful Hollywood producer. So according to Whitney, he's never had to make it out the gutter like she did, which is completely pathetic and, of course, a huge lie.
Just because you don't believe in comedy, it doesn't mean other people don't. People are like, you sell out. I love when a Nepo baby tells comics who grew up poor that they're sellouts. People whose dads have points on huge television shows are like, I have a backup plan, a trust fund. You're a sellout for making money. Comics have been doing rants about it. A comic tried to imply that it was hypocritical that I went because I did a special about sexual harassment and stuff like that. It was like kind of during the Me Too movement. And it's, it might be a compelling argument if it wasn't someone who was just bummed that they weren't invited, because he also believes he deserves 72 virgins. Maybe it's that.
So besides that little zinger at the end there, this response was pretty underwhelming. I mean, there were so many other things that she could have brought up to make fun of Chris D'Elia for, like the fact that he got a huge neck tattoo at the age of 40 as his first ever tattoo, which is literally just the number 40. Or the fact that whenever he tries to make a comeback on social media, he gets ratioed by someone reminding everyone of his allegations. Like, there's so much out there to make fun of him for, but she went with how he has a big trust fund. Pretty lame, especially since Whitney did not grow up poor, okay? She actually grew up in Georgetown, one of the ritziest neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., and she literally went to the same private school as Barron Trump. So for her to just fall back on that lie is pretty telling, and in my opinion, she pretty much admitted defeat here with that lackluster clapback. She even brought up the main argument that Chris made and said it was solid, which, truthfully, it was solid. Like, even though Chris D'Elia is a grade A creep and the lowest form of human scum, he was still overall correct in his call out when he mentioned that the worst comedians on the Riyadh list are the ones who are outspoken advocates in the States. Like, no one was surprised to see Jimmy Carr or Kevin Hart because everyone already knew that they would accept money without blinking an eye. They were more so outraged at the hypocrisy of the other quote-unquote morally just comics.
First of all, there's a difference between being an outspoken comic about all the issues and all of the being an advocate and ally and all that shit, and then taking money to go do that shit.
Agreed.
Then there is with, if Nate Bargatze went out there, which he didn't, but like, dude, the guy's not political at all. He's just like fucking talking about how his dog got out of his house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Those
so
people
like
have families
Sebastian, like all that stuff. That's different. If I'm out there saying, "Hey, the Me Too movement. Hey, Black Lives Matter. Hey, this is all important shit. We need free speech," and then you take the bag, you're a fucking asshole. It's just you. Now I can't believe anything.
No, you're a sellout.
Say
your definition of a sellout.
It's like you were in the. It's like, dude, you're only do shit for money. Don't act like you are someone who is moral. If you want to be an activist, be an activist, but don't be an activist under the guise of you're making money of it. That's horseshit. If it's for money, and you're acting like you have this moral, I'm better than that, then you're the worst kind of person.
You know it's bad when you put yourself in a position where Chris D'Elia is making good points. And sure, what he's saying was fueled by his feeling of betrayal from all his comic buddies, Whitney included, but it doesn't really take away from his points. So after seeing what Chris said in contrast to what Whitney responded with, Whitney Cummings actually comes off as completely deranged, and somehow even more batshit crazy than before. Like, Whitney Cummings has always been completely unhinged, but now that her whole fan base has turned against her, it just made her craziness worse. Like, everything she says in the response is almost as if she's trying to do her form of comedy, but it just comes out like a wonky, hollow version of a joke.
It's I'm trying to help you sound less racist. Also, if you would like to, don't buy it. I don't want your blood money. I did write a chapter in my book about when I went to Dubai. You guys wouldn't know how to pronounce it. You tell me, how do you pronounce it? I'm so ignorant, I don't know.
She also attempts to justify taking money directly from Turkey al-Sheikh by saying that Live Nation is partially owned by Saudi Arabia, which is another insultingly terrible cope.
Any comic who has ever worked with Live Nation, which is all of them, has taken Saudi money. But keep with your little rants. When you get a sec, Google Saudi Arabia Live Nation, so you can be informed on the fact that anyone who has worked with Live Nation, every stand-up comic, has taken Saudi money. Google that, just so that you know what you're talking about.
Or bought a ticket through Live Nation.
Or bought a ticket through Live Nation, went to a Live Nation event. All the actors who are represented by William Morris Agency, which is all of them, if you want to send them notes too.
So yes, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund used to own roughly 5.7% of Live Nation around 2020. But owning shares in a publicly traded company is not the same as having direct control or being the puppet master of the comedians performing in your country. And on top of that, Saudi Arabia apparently sold their entire share of Live Nation in 2024. So that argument doesn't hold any weight, just like everything else she said in this podcast. But I think the funniest part about this whole Riyadh odd response, though, was that it completely contradicted everything she said on her appearance on the We Might Be Drunk podcast with Mark Normand and Sam Morrill, which happened to air the exact same day as the one where she called her fans ignorant and racist. Because apparently to Sam and Mark, she's cool as a cucumber. People can say whatever they want, and she's just not concerned about anything.
Holy
Anyway,
shit.
we'll be in Saudi Arabia in a couple weeks. And,
As will I.
Are you getting shit?
I don't care. No, what?
Oh, I guess you're not looking. Yeah, it's all bots.
I think if you're a woman working in Saudi Arabia, it's so deeply unfair that I will be forced to work when I'm there and read things and read a schedule.
Good point. You won't have to drive.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least they'll have a driver for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
care. Like, I don't.
are you on the road really hard
Because
right now?
I know Tim was talking about how he was getting shit about going over there. Like,
Yeah, well, he's just embraced. Like, I'm embracing the regime. I'm all for it. I say let's
do
do
you
it.
think you guys get more of this because you respond to it?
We didn't respond to
Probably.
it.
Or like talk about how it annoys you?
Yeah, maybe, because then they're like, we're getting to him.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Yeah, I think it's their way of like communicating. with you
100%.
Or something.
She even goes as far as to say that comedians should embrace negative criticism online and that no comic should ever respond with anger to internet trolls, because every form of art will have reviews that are both positive and negative, which would have been refreshing to hear if she didn't release a podcast the exact same day, fuming at her haters, calling them racist, and claiming that she accepted the money because she grew up in the ghetto area of Georgetown, D.C.
Well, that's the thing. Like, who are we so worried about? You know, we're always like, cut that out, cut
awesome.
that. We don't want that out there. But I'm
was
like,
so fucking
who are these
funny.
people that are like? I think it's the internet. It's just the
I'm
comments.
so like we have to stop talking about it. It's not.
What?
Are you guys on the dead internet theory at all?
What's that?
No.
I don't think any of it's real. Like, it's not real. Like,
Really?
the internet, like, do you ever notice the internet's like, my new theory, like the internet, something will happen and it'll go crazy and it's just like bots yelling at bots, I'm literally at
I
the
think
point
that's a lot of it.
where I'm like, do you guys
on
even
Twitter.
need us for this? Like, it's its own self-sustaining, just like rat king. You know when rats' tails get stuck together? Like,
Right.
that's the internet. And
Yeah.
I think it's just, it's not, but also like, let them have it. Like, I feel like we're the bully. Like, these people that we get to talk in microphones. People listen to us. And we charge people to listen to us talk. Like, we get to be heard. And someone else like, oh, I don't like your term. And we're like, fuck, shut the fuck.
That's true.
We talk. No one else
I just try to
talks.
disengage
true.
if it gets
Yeah.
nasty because you're like, it's all
Well-
rage bait. I think it's, I agree with you that like, it's always the most extreme example. And you're like, is this happening?
But those are addicts. Like, anyone who's on the internet doing that, that's
Yeah.
addiction, you know? So that's just their addiction.
Bobcat
Sorry
Goldthwait.
to do hot take. I think it might be good for us.
What's that?
Getting
negative-
shot up by Al Shabaab?
That
Oh.
like some negative feedback might be okay.
Yeah,
I
of course.
haven't like drawn this line of thinking out. I might pivot on it, but like, you know, before, like when you would do like TV or whatever, you would just get like a rating that was like, here's your rating, and you'd be like, look, they love us.
Mm.
But
Dude,
you know,
it's
some
stupid.
of the personalities in our business, you're like, I'm glad they have a couple negative comments on it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, well, who would that person be
Yeah.
if these monsters weren't coming after him a little bit? Even talking about that, like the fact that we don't think like negative comments should exist is so like our job.
course.
Is
Oh, they
is
should.
to understand human nature, and the fact that we're still talking about this 5 years after negative comments are like, you know, is so bizarre to me. Like we're so the narcissism to believe we never deserve any negativity ever, and that we don't understand human nature. That like it's high school, we're still in high school, everyone's just trolling each other.
But
Bill
it's-
Burr also said he came on my podcast once and he was like, yeah, he's like, if I was 15 and I looked up, I would, and my hero was on Twitter, I could read, I'd be like, hey asshole, fuck you, suck.
Sure,
like,
sure.
You know, it's just kind of. I think it's mental illness. We have our whole thing is like, I'm neurodivergent, I have ADD. Well, this person's addicted to trolling. Why don't you have compassion for them? I mean,
Yeah.
but also like we do it all day, every day, like to protect. It's so funny that we're so blindsided by the fact that people are critical or have opinions or aren't like universally unctuous to us. Like I'm like walking down the street in New York and I'm just like, this fucking asshole, this fucking idiot, this shirt guy. Like we're doing it all day, every day in our heads.
Of
too.
course.
So yeah, at the end of the day, this whole thing just perfectly sums up Whitney's inevitable downfall. Like here's someone who built her brand around morality and accountability, and now she's the one melting down over being held to her own standards. And the saddest part is that she could have owned it. She could have admitted that she chased the bag and then just moved on, but instead she doubled down, blamed her fans, and ended up looking even more out of touch than before. But anyways, with that being said, that is it for the video, guys. Let me know what you think of Whitney Cummings down in the comments, and as always, thank you so much for watching.